Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Gretchen, and today I wanted to talk to you about some big books that I have on my TBR that I am looking forward to reading. And what inspired this video is that I am very much a fall winter girl. They are my favorite seasons, and they're also my favorite reading seasons as well. I tend to have the best reading experiences during the next 6 months, and it is the time that I really like to slow down and take my time with books. Whereas in the spring and summer, I find myself more drawn to very short books or really fast-paced reads that are going to be over very quickly because life is busier for me in the spring and summer, whereas in the fall and winter I feel like I have more time. I can slow down, and also like the days are getting shorter, it's darker sooner, and it's just a cozier time to pick up and get lost in a good book. So what I thought I would do is I went through my personal TBR at home through my home library and picked out 8 chunky books that I'm considering picking up this fall and winter, and talk about them. And maybe if I share this with you, you'll have some opinions about which ones might be good books or good options. Now, obviously I haven't read any of these books yet, so I don't know a whole lot about them, and this is not going to be a review or anything like that, but I do think that some of these books are well known, and some of you may have read them before and have opinions about whether or not they would make a good fall or winter read. Some of these might be better in the summer or the spring because of the tone of the book, but I figured I would at least go with some of the 8 bigger ones that I had in my library to see if any of these would be good options for me. So I'm just going to start with the first one on top, and let's talk about David Copperfield by Charles Dickens. Now, this is a thick book. It is, let's see what the page count is. We have 866 pages. So it's a big book, and part of why I want to read this book is that I know loosely the David Copperfield story. It's something that I've always kind of known. There have been some adaptations, and of course, a few years ago, Barbara Kingsolver wrote Demon Copperhead, which was based on David Copperfield, and I really enjoyed that story. And having never read the source material, I knew that I would definitely want to go back at some point in time and properly read this story. And yeah, I love this edition. I have several of these vintage classic editions, and they are beautifully done. I absolutely love the aesthetic of them. And yeah, I think this is going to be a book that I enjoy. And I did say that this was 866 pages, and I actually thought that this book was longer, but looking at the font, not only is it 866 pages, but the font is super tiny. So it's definitely going to be a book that consumes a lot of time. I am a reader that enjoys Dickens. I know that he is not everyone's cup of tea, but I tend to really enjoy his stories, and also because it is set in a different time, that also I feel adds a little bit of quaintness and coziness to it as well. And I'm actually thinking that this would be a pretty good pick for an autumnal or a winter read, but yeah, we'll see. I'd be curious to know if anybody has read this one or would suggest this one as a good option. So the next book is very different from David Copperfield. I've wanted to read David Copperfield since I was a teen. It has been on my radar for quite a while, and one of those books that I just consistently keep putting off, but it has been on my radar for a very long time. This next one is only a couple years old, and it came on my radar when it won the International Booker a few years ago, and that is Tomb of Sand by Geetenjali Shree, and this is translated by Daisy Rockwell. This book comes in at 735 pages, so it definitely qualifies for a big book. I'm noticing here it also won the English Pen Award as well, so this is a critically acclaimed book. I've heard nothing but good things about it, and I would really love to read it. I love Tilted Axis Press. This was published by Tilted Axis Press, and also I am doing a project where I'm reading from indie presses, and it's not just going to be indie presses based in America. It will also be in Canada, Australia, and the UK as well. So this would actually be a good project read for one of those videos as well if I decide to pick this one up. So the next book might actually be a little surprising that it's a book that I want to read. It's not something that it's not the type of book that I typically read on my channel, but I am absolutely fascinated with this author. I have read a good bit of his books and I really do enjoy them. I understand that he is not everyone's cup of tea, but I really like how thought-provoking his books can be for me, and even though the content in them can sometimes be a little problematic, I do like the way that he challenges me, and I like how weird and obscure he can be as an author. And this one especially appeals to me, and that is 1Q84 by Huruki Murakami. I've had this book, this specific copy, since 2011, and I don't know why I haven't read it yet. It's just one that I keep putting off, but it is one I'm very intrigued by. I did start to read this book, and I think I got maybe about 100 pages into it, and I was really enjoying it, but it's a book that you kind of have to really pay attention to, and I think that why I put it down and didn't pick it back up was that I just couldn't find time to consistently give to it, and there were large gaps in me putting it down and then picking it up again. This book I got around 2011, and that is the year that I got my first job where I traveled consistently. So it was a time where I was really trying to figure out how my life would look with traveling every week for work and, you know, falling into that type of lifestyle. And I tried to read this book during that time, and life just got away from me and I never returned to it. But I have since read many other books by Huruki Murakami and have loved them, and I really do enjoy the types of stories that he tells, and I'm looking forward to getting to this one, and I don't know if this is the year that I finally do. Now, to be fair, now obviously this is a big chunky book. It is the biggest one so far. It is, I think, over 1,100 pages. Yeah, 1,157 pages. So it's definitely big. And technically, I think this is 3 books put together. It was originally released in 3 separate volumes, but it is all in one here. And I will eventually get to this someday. And I'm lately kind of craving something out of the ordinary and very different from the types of books that I have been reading. So maybe it is a good time for me to pick this one up. I don't know. It's definitely an option. So the next book is one that has been on my TBR for a very long time. And I think this is one that I have wanted to read since I was in high school, and This is also a book that if this makes sense, I have fond memories of it even though I haven't read it. So that book is Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry. And why this book, why I have good memories of this book is this is a book that my father read, and I distinctly remember him reading it over and over and over and over again. He had a beat up copy of a mass market copy of this book, so much he read it so many times that literally the front of the cover like bent in half and it ended up ripping and like it was falling apart. He had read that book so many times and he absolutely loved this story. And then I remember there was a mini series that came out and we all watched it on TV because, you know, he was such a fan of the book, and I watched that mini series and I remember that miniseries and I thought it was great at the time. I haven't revisited it, so I don't know how it's held up over the years, but it does still stick in my memory and I have fond memories of it. And I've never read the book. It has won the Pulitzer. I know that I hear so many good things about this book and I am really looking forward to getting to it someday. And I feel like the more and more I'm hearing about it, I've seen a lot of more recent reviews of this. I hear it talked about on podcasts that I listen to. I'm a big fan of the Mooks and the Gripes podcast, and they talk about this book all the time. And every time I hear somebody talk about it, I just want to pick it up, and I never do. And I think that it's about time that I finally take the plunge and read this book that so many people have high praise for. So the next one is a book that I have wanted to read since high school and I just haven't got to it yet, and that is The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexander Dumas. This particular translation was done by Rubin. Now this book is that quintessential revenge story. You have a man that was falsely imprisoned, and you know, when he gets out, he has this revenge plot. I don't know much more than that, but I'm sure that there is a lot to it because it is such a big book, coming in at over 1,200 pages. I have wanted to read this for a while and it has consistently been on my TBR, but a few years ago I heard a really negative review about it, and the person basically said it was one of the worst books they have ever read and it put them in a year-long reading slump, and I was just like, oh, like maybe I don't want to go down that road. But you know, I still hear really good things about this. I had mentioned before the Mooks and the Gripes podcast. I trust those men with my life, or my reading life, I should say. And this book is one of their all-time favorites. So I am definitely willing to give this a chance. And I think that it would be a really good fall winter type of book for some reason in my mind. I think that it would. And yeah, maybe this will be the year I finally get to it. This could also be a really good option for a project read for 2026. I usually like to read one big classic over the course of the year and do like a deeper read of it. This could definitely fit the bill for that. I really wanted to do that with War and Peace this year, but if you follow my channel, you'll know that I had some issues with finding the perfect translation for me, and once I found the translation that I want, I can't or don't have access to the audio version of that in the States. And when I read these big books, I really do like to have the physical copy as well as an audio, just to have that more immersive experience, and it just really enhances and promotes a deeper read of of the book for me. So I want to make sure that I do have a good audio for this if I do plan on doing that. So I don't think anything's going to change with me being able to access that audio for War and Peace. So I will need to think about a different option for 2026 for me. So this might be a really good one. So the next book is another one that I have been meaning to read basically my whole life, and it's time that I finally get to it. I need to get to it. It's a book that is a literary classic. It's often listed as people's favorite book of all time, and it's a book that is constantly referenced in contemporary literature, film, all of the arts, and it's one that I feel like I am missing out on, and it's about time that I get to it. And that is Moby Dick by Herman Melville. I don't know why I have put this book off for so long. It intimidates me for some reason. I don't know why. I've never tried it. I've never started it and put it down or just didn't finish it. I obviously know the first line, but I've never cracked this book open to even read the first full paragraph. I know the gist of what it's about, and I think that at the end of the day, it's going to be a book that I absolutely love, but I don't know. I don't know why I have that paralysis when it comes to picking this one up, but I do think that it's one I need to get to sooner than later, and I need to just bite the bullet and I need to do it. And it's not going to be because I feel like I have to. It is truly because I want to. I just need that little extra push to pick it up and get going. And maybe this will be my project read for 2026. I don't know. However, I will say, of the books that we've talked about so far, this is kind of the baby. This is only 630 some pages, so it's not terribly long, but yeah, definitely one I need to get to. So the next book is another one I've been putting off for a very long time. Part of why I keep pushing this to the side is because I have built up so much hype for this book in my head. I'm really nervous about being disappointed or let down by this, and that is Middlemarch by George Eliot. I don't have any reason to think that this book is not going to be fantastic. Everybody that I follow and trust with reading recommendations has loved this book. As a matter of fact, I don't think I have ever heard any shade for Middlemarch. I have only heard good things, and that should definitely be a reason for me to want to pick this up, but it has the opposite effect on me for some reason. I'm just scared because I also I have heard this book as being described as life-changing to some as a reader, and then you have, you know, reading life before Middlemarch, and then Middlemarch forces you to look at literature different after you have read it. So I don't know if I'm ready for that, but I am definitely willing to give this a chance. This is a book that is almost 800 pages. It's a little deceptive. It doesn't look like it's 800 pages, especially compared to like The Count of Monte Cristo. The Count of Monte Cristo is 1,200 pages. This is 800, but you see that it's a little taller, and it is really heavy. This is probably, of all the books I've shown so far as weight, it is definitely heavier. So yeah, I don't know what as far as the construction goes that makes this heavier for it being a shorter book, but yeah, it's definitely heavy. But I don't know, is this a book good to read in the fall or winter? I'm not really sure what time of year it takes place in. Maybe it's spring, summer, I don't know, but I do think that it has a lot of characters. I think it has a lot of drama, so that makes me think that even if it's out of season, it might be a good book to get lost in with all of the different characters and all of the different dramas that they have going on in their life. So yeah, Middlemarch is an option as well. So the last book that I want to throw into the ring for my potential fall, winter big book is Ducks Newburyport by Lucy Ellmann. This is a book that has been on my TBR now for about 5 years. I've wanted to get to this one for a while, but I'm very intimidated by this one. And I talked about being intimidated by some of the other books, but this one for a very different reason. Now, I enjoy a big book, do not get me wrong, but what seems very challenging about this one specifically is that this is a book that not only is it big, it comes in just under 1,000 pages, but this is a book that has very few page breaks, very few sentence breaks. I don't believe that there are any chapter switches or anything like that. It's just one long book. Oh, there are a couple breaks, but they are definitely few and very far between. I also think that this book is very much a stream of consciousness, which is great. I'm a fan of stream of consciousness. I don't think that that's going to bother me, but stream of consciousness I can handle, but I don't know if I can handle it with this type of formatting, with it being a constant page after page after page with no paragraph breaks. I think that that might be a little daunting, but I am definitely willing to try it. I have heard really good things about this book. I have heard really bad things about this book, but knowing what it's about and what it's doing, I think I am likely going to fall more on the liking it side. So that's why I have kept it on my radar, but we'll see what happens. So yeah, those are the 8 books that I'm thinking about picking up this winter or fall or winter, I should say. So I'm curious to know, are there any of these books that you think that I would get along with? Do you have a favorite over any of the 8 that I have shown you? Or any thoughts about maybe ones that you kind of follow me and you know my reading taste that you don't think I will get along with? I'm very curious to hear all of that information. I also would really love to hear if any of you are like me, where you love to dig into those bigger books in the fall and winter, and if you do, what are you planning to read this upcoming fall season? So yeah, thanks again for watching. If you liked this video, please like, subscribe, or comment, and until we read again, bye!